who had 3 sons, the youngest of whom was called Simpleton. The others teased and mocked him all the time. One day, the eldest son decided to go to the forest to cut wood. His mother fixed him a nice lunch of cake made with eggs and a bottle of wine. No sooner had he entered the forest when he met a little old gray-haired man who gave him a kind good morning and then said, "Please give me a bite of your cake and a sip of your wine, for I am hungry and thirsty." But the clever son said, "If I give you a bite of cake and a sip of wine, I'll have that much less for myself. So be off with you, old man." And leaving the old man standing there, the eldest son went about his business. However, when he began to hew down the tree, the axe slipped and cut his arm, so he had to stop working and go home and have it bound up. Now, this was no accident. Oh no. It was the doing of the little old gray-haired man. The second son said he would go to the forest to cut wood. For him, too, the mother put up a nice lunch of a cake made with eggs and a bottle of wine. Just like the first, the second son met the little old gray-haired man who asked him for a bite of his cake and a sip of his wine. But this one spoke as cleverly as his brother. "Whatever I give you," he said, "will mean that much less for myself. So be off with you, old man." And he too left the old man standing there while he went into the forest. You may be sure his punishment was not long delayed. No sooner had he lifted his axe to strike the tree when his arm slipped. The axe came down on his leg and cut so deep a gash he had to be carried home. Then Simpleton said, "Father, let me go into the forest to cut wood for you." But the father replied, "Your brothers, who are so much wiser, were not able to do anything but get hurt. You know nothing about it. Better let well enough alone." But Simpleton begged so hard that at last his father sighed and said, "Go then, if you must. You'll know better when you've hurt yourself." For his lunch, the mother gave him a cake made only with water and baked it in the ashes, and with it a bottle of sour beer. When he entered the forest like his brothers, Simpleton met the little old gray-haired man who said, "I am so hungry and thirsty. Won't you give me a bite of your cake and a sip of your wine?" "It is but a cinder cake," said Simpleton, "and in this bottle is no wine, only sour beer. However, if such food is to your liking, I'll gladly share it with you." So they sat down, and when the boy took out the cake, he found beer. He found it had turned into a nice sweet one, and then he poured the sour beer. Good red wine came out of the bottle. So they ate and drank together, and when they were done, the little old gray-haired man said, "Because you have a kind heart and you are willing to share what is yours with others, I will give you good luck. Do you see that old tree? Cut it down and you will find something at the roots." Then he disappeared. Simpleton lost no time. He went up to the old tree with a few sure strokes and soon cut it down. What do you think he found sitting amidst the gnarled roots? A goose. But not just any goose. This one had feathers of pure gold. Simpleton picked her up and took her with him to an inn where he planned to spend the night. The innkeeper had 3 sharp-eyed daughters who noticed the wonderful bird at once. They longed for one of the golden feathers, and the eldest daughter kept an eye for a chance to get one. As soon as Simpleton stepped out of the room, she ran up to the goose and took a hold of its wing, meaning to pluck out a feather. But, to her dismay, she found her fingers had stuck fast to the goose, and she could not pull herself away. The second daughter then came over with the same idea in mind, but barely had she touched her sister when she too was stuck fast. The third, when she saw the 2 together, thought she should join them. But when she came over, the other 2 cried out, "Stay away, don't touch us." The youngest daughter did not understand this. "Why should I stay away?" she asked. "I want to be with you." So saying, she touched the middle sister and, like the others, remained stuck fast. And so the 3 had to pass the night held fast to the golden goose. The next morning, Simpleton took the goose under his arm, paying no attention to the 3 girls hanging on behind. They had a dreadful time, poor things, running now on the right, now on the left, in order to keep from tripping over Simpleton's legs. In this manner they went along until they came to the center of the town, where they met the parson. "Aren't you ashamed, you bold girls?" cried out the good man. "Do you think it is proper to run after a young man like this?" He reached out for the hand of the youngest sister, intending to pull her away, but no sooner did he touch her when he found himself held fast, and try as he would, he could not pry loose. So willy-nilly, he too joined the parade. They had not gone far when the sexton came along. Astounded to see the parson running after 3 young women, he called, "Stop, your reverence! Where are you going so fast? Have you forgotten there is a christening this afternoon?" And catching up with the group, he took hold of the parson's sleeve. No sooner had the sexton done so when he found himself unable to let go. By and by, 2 field workers carrying their hoes came along, and the parson called out to them to set free the sexton and himself. But as soon as they touched them, the laborers found they were held fast like all the rest. So now there were 7 in the parade, one treading on the heels of the other, as they all followed Simpleton and the golden goose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In this fashion they traveled on until they came to a city. Now the king who ruled the city had an only daughter, who was so solemn no one had ever been able to make her laugh. So the king decided that whoever could make his daughter laugh could have her for his wife. When Simpleton heard this, he marched up to the palace right in front of the princess's window. The princess took one look at the silly parade. The 3 daughters of the innkeeper, the parson, the sexton, and the 2 field workers, all stuck fast to each other, all weaving and stumbling after Simpleton and his goose. And she burst into such loud gales of laughter it seemed she would never stop. So Simpleton went to the king and asked for the princess in marriage. But the king did not fancy a simple fellow for a son-in-law. So he said he would consent only under certain conditions. First, he said, Simpleton must find someone who could drink a cellar full of wine. Only one person can help me, thought Simpleton, the little old gray-haired man. Back to the forest he hurried, on the same spot where he had cut down the tree, and found a man with a sad face. "What is your trouble?" asked Simpleton. "Alas," said the man, "I have such a powerful thirst, nothing seems to quench it. Cold water I hate, and I have just finished a huge cask of wine. But for a thirst like mine, there was no more than a drop on a burning stone." "Your troubles are over, my friend," said Simpleton. "Come with me, and even your thirst will soon be satisfied." He took him to the king's cellar. The man stared in at once on the casks of wine, and by the end of the day, not a drop was left in any of them. Then Simpleton once more asked the king to give him the princess for his wife. But the king couldn't bear the thought of having his only daughter marry anyone called Simpleton. So he made a new condition. Now the boy was to find someone who could eat a mountain of bread. Simpleton did not think long. Straight to the forest he went, and in the same spot as before he found a man pulling his belt tightly around his body and making the most terrible faces. "What's the matter?" asked Simpleton. "You look near death." "Quite so," said the man. "The only way I can stay alive is to keep my belt tight around me. I have such an awful appetite. I am always hungry. I just eaten an oven full of rolls, but my stomach is still empty." "Follow me," said Simpleton happily, "and I promise that your appetite will soon be satisfied." He led the man to the palace where all the flour in the kingdom had been collected and baked into a mountain of bread. The man sat down before it, and by nightfall the mountain was gone. Then Simpleton again demanded the princess for his wife, but the king tried once more to get rid of him. He ordered him to find a ship that could sail on both land and sea. "And when you come sailing in that," he said, "you shall have the princess." Simpleton headed straight for the forest. This time he found the little old gray-haired man himself, the one whom he had shared his cinder cake and his sour beer. The man said, "I have eaten and drunk for you, and I shall give you the ship too. All this I do for you because you have a good heart and you were kind to me." Then he gave Simpleton the ship that could sail on both land and sea, and when the king saw this, he could no longer refuse the princess, his daughter. So the wedding took place, and when the old king died, Simpleton inherited the kingdom. He ruled wisely and lived happily many long years with his princess. I hope you enjoyed this ASMR reading of The Golden Goose. Make sure to subscribe and follow me for more ASMR stories. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.